Hi everybody, I'm Theo Eftimiadis. This is my first Royce White report. Before I talk about Royce White, and that's what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about his games, and, whichever ones I can catch, talk about what his skills are, sort of give people an insight into who Royce White the player is, because I know a lot of people know who Royce White the person is, and if you're a basketball fan, if you're a Houston fan, you want to know more about Royce White on the court. But before I start that, I want to thank conservative new media and their Jeremy Lin reports. They inspired this. It lets me follow the Houston Rockets, and I live overseas. I can't necessarily watch all their games. They're on 3 a.m. my time, and so I can really be a fan overseas because I can listen to these Jeremy Lin reports and know how the Houston Rockets did. And so I sort of see this Royce White segment as a supplement to that. And Houston Rockets fans and people just interested in basketball can know more about Royce White. So, Royce White joined the Rio Grande Vipers 2 days ago. That's February the 12th. Hasn't had a chance, as far as it's been reported, to practice with the team. And so he's just sort of being thrown onto the court. And I can say it's immediately apparent that he is a talent. He was taken 16th overall. When I heard that, I sort of discounted what this guy could do on the court. But I heard a lot. I discounted it. He went 16th overall, and anxiety apparently wasn't a big part of that. His draft status, because he told the Houston Rockets when they drafted him, not going to be a big deal. He flew on planes during college, and it seems this has been a recent thing where he's not flying anymore. But I'm not going to make a habit of talking about his anxiety disorder. That's all in the media. What I want to do is tell you about his on-court game. Perhaps in the future I'll talk about it, but right now, if you need background on Royce White, it's not hard to find. So, Royce White, the player. He's a phenomenal basketball talent. He gets on the court, and on offense specifically, he's a monster. He runs the break. He's a distributor, first of all. He's a point forward is the term. What that means is he plays like a point guard, as in he's the distributor, but he plays at a forward position. It's more of a skill set. I mean, it's not obviously not a position. It's a skill set. And when you think of point forwards, you think of LeBron James first and foremost. Although he is he's so talented. Boris Diaw, Lamar Odom, big guys who can facilitate the offense. Run the offense. And so that's kind of the mold that you can think of Royce White in. He loves running the break, and he's effective on the break. First of all, usually the people getting back on the break, especially in the D League, are the guards. This guy is, I'd say, 240, 250 pounds, and he is solid. No guard is stopping him when he's running to the hoop. And they figured the Texas Legends last night figured that out quickly. And I think he finished one and then was hacked on 2 consecutive fast break takes to the hoop. And beyond his finishing game, he has a whole bunch of finishing moves. His dribble moves are impressive. He's got this one behind the back move I'll talk about in a second when I get to his weaknesses in the game. But anyway, he's got a whole bunch of finishing moves, huge, and his court vision is so very impressive. He reminds me of LeBron James in that he can look off a defender and just bullet a pass into someone who's in a scoring position. I kind of watch the game, and there's a rhythm to basketball. You sort of know where the passes are going usually, but and Royce White doesn't play much, but in the first half and second half, he would just he'd take the ball up. He's in the point guard position at the top of the key, and never did he make the easy pass. He would wait for the defense and players to move around until he had an impressive pass opportunity. And he ended the game with, I believe it was something like 5, 5, and 5. 5 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. The assists are easily the most impressive. So yeah, those are the strengths of his game. I'd love to see him take it to the NBA. I'd love to see it on the Rockets specifically with their high-paced offense. And unfortunately, he is a bit of a defensive liability, which is kind of the reason I want to see him on the Rockets. I mean, their offense, I guess their offense is sort of at a peak. I don't know how much Royce White adds. Maybe he'd hurt them more than he'd help them. Because I will say up front, he's defense, almost all facets of defense. He's a great player, great athlete, and on the offensive side, he's a deadly distributor, but defense is weak. His awareness is low. He did get 2 steals, and I can't just not talk about that. He did get 2 steals at the end of the half, consecutive plays, and this is really when he came in for about 8 minutes. He had some great passes, and he was I think he missed a shot, and I saw him miss a whole bunch of shots in the first game he played on the 12th. So I'm sort of putting together that he's not much of a shooter. But so he had these offensive passes. They're down 5 points. I believe they started the game 15 down, something like that, and so they were playing catch up. You're heading into the half. You think you know how the game's gonna end up. 30 seconds left. He steals a pass from the offense, takes it coast to coast, foul, 2 shots. 8 seconds left. They're taking it up again. Royce White pokes it away from the point guard, kind of dribbles it up. Time's ticking down. He's sitting at the top of the key, and you're thinking, do something. 4 seconds, 3 seconds. Bullets it to a cutting Terrence Jones, who hits the layup. Could have been fouled. The fouls in this game were not really being called. The announcers were talking about it the whole time, and it was obvious. Terrence Jones could have been fouled on that. But anyway, he made it. So the game, they go into halftime. Instead of down, they go in 55-55 because of Royce White. So let me talk about his defense. He's not much of an on-the-ball defender. In the first game, he played 18 minutes, got 5 fouls. This game, I'm going to look it up right now. I believe he got in foul trouble again. And it's not even dumb fouls, it's lazy fouls. This guy, from what I've seen, he takes a lot of shortcuts, especially on defense. The effort isn't always there. The other team had this player, Christian Ayenga. Let me look at this. So in the first game, he has 5 fouls. 18 minutes, 5 fouls. That's a lot of fouls for not very much time. Last night, comes in the game, first minute, gets wrapped up with Ayenga, the other team. I think his name's Christian Ayenga. Great athlete. I've heard the name in the NBA. Never saw him play. He can throw down some dunks. Quick guy, not much of a shooter, but he's a scorer. And so yeah, Royce White, he gets tangled up with him, kind of holding on to him. He should have just let go, but that happens in basketball. But for a guy who gets into foul trouble, it's something you want to see not happen. You don't want to see happen. Another foul, and this is sort of when Royce White, he comes in on 8-minute stints, I'd say. Near the end, I guess the fatigue is playing a role. He can't stay in front of his man. Ayenga was his man. He's a quick guy. He's a small forward, big guy. So he holds him. He kind of throws up a shot, but he didn't wait for help defense. It was a foul that happens when you don't put effort into on-the-ball defense. So the fouls he gets aren't the kind you want to see out of a player, any player, just because it indicates lack of effort. And in that same vein, his rebounding. Now, his rebounding is kind of a mystery to me. I don't think at the NBA level his rebounding will be, he averages 5, let's see, 8, 7, and 3. That's 8.4 points, 7 rebounds, 3.6 assists. I could see that. That's during the summer league he averaged that. The 6 assists could go up. The rebounds, I've got to say, go down because half the time he's playing point. And then he gets tired, and I used to do this in high school a little bit. It's always when you get tired, it's a lazy thing to do. You sort of put your arm, put your elbow, hand on the player you're boxing out, and kind of mess up their center of gravity. Because when you're going up for the rebound, you go all the way down straight up, trying to get the rebound at its highest point. When your center of gravity isn't what you expect it to be, your jump doesn't come out right. And that's a foul. You can't do that. And like I said, we're not really calling fouls in this game. So maybe he got away with that a few times. But yeah, it wasn't something I liked seeing. And he'd get the rebounds. He'd sort of one hand pushing the guy off, the other one he'd grab with one hand. The ball he'd grab with one hand. So yeah, a few more things about his game, and I said that's a bad thing about his character, or something. It's been 2 games. I shouldn't say bad. Something questionable that I'm gonna look for in the games going forward. But he sits next to the coaches on the sideline, which is always something you want to see. It means you're in the game, you're listening. It means you're engaged. Usually the guys at the end of the bench are kind of messing around. Royce White is not playing games. That's good to see. Another thing that's good to see is, and I compare this to Nene, is the player I see do this a lot. He palms the ball, and sort of that becomes his triple threat, as in his like standard face to face with the defender is he'll sort of lean over and put the ball behind him. He'll put the ball above his head, and it adds an angle. Passing is all about angles to his game, and the great thing to see is he can pass it from there. Nene, I see a lot. He dumps it off sort of from that holding position. The palming the ball above his head. He'll dump it off, and it's great to see. It's like he's standing on top of a lighthouse, just dropping passes into open players. Royce White has that ability, number 1. Number 2, I saw him throw some bullets out of that, which is, what he'd do is he'd hold the ball up, quickly put his other hand up, and just slap the ball to another player. His passing is you gotta see it. It's great. So something I didn't like, and this is in the 3rd quarter. He takes the ball, and like I said, they weren't really calling fouls. And he takes the ball coast to coast, gets fouled. It's not a blatant foul. There's some contact going to the rim. He misses a sort of scoop, and he doesn't get back. He throws his hand up, looking at the ref. What that was a foul. He gets pissed off, and the other team scores. Yeah, that wasn't good. He has this behind the back move, and I laugh not because it's a bad move, but because there's a bunch of ways to dribble the ball. Allen Iverson had this crossover game that was, players are known for their style in dribbling the ball. His behind the back dribble move looks exactly like Javale Mcgee's, and Javale Mcgee had he's always doing sort of dumb things on the court, and he's been on Shaq and a fool a bunch for it, and it's not something good about his game. And he it looks just like JaVale McGee's. JaVale McGee earlier this year had this, I think he got a steal. It was like JaVale McGee, great play turns to terrible play. Gets a steal, tries to juke out a guy, goes behind the back, and you're like, wow, JaVale McGee, that was a nice move. And then he loses his balance, it starts falling, grabs the ball with two hands, tries to chuck it up the court, and I'll put this link in the video description. Tries to chuck it up court and just goes way out of bounds. Now Royce White has the same move. He's a little better with his footing, but he did it twice, and twice he almost lost the ball. There's places he needs to work on that. First time he goes behind the back, I think he just doesn't look. Goes behind the back, which is weird because he has such great court awareness, but he goes behind the back and maybe he thinks he has more room than he does, or I don't know, but he goes behind the back, almost gets stolen. He manages to keep a hold of it. The defense is sort of off balance, sort of a broken play, and I think they scored off of it. Second time, behind the back, there's a guy right there. And he goes right to him. The guy swipes at it. Royce swipes at it. Goes off the guy. Goes out of bounds. So neither of them turned into anything bad, but it's not a habit it's not something you want to make or keep as a habit. So that's Royce White. I just, in speaking through this, I realized that I should do this quarter by quarter breakdown. Let me just tell you, throughout the whole game, impressive passes. Passes you're watching the game, you don't even see. And you have the great, TV angle, and a lot of times his passes are catchable. And I say catchable, not like you have to, put your hand up, jump, catch it. They're catchable. And a lot of times his teammates weren't finishing them or weren't handling the ball. I think that's just because they haven't played with the guy, and they're not really traditional passes. They are things you have to know could be coming. You have to always be ready for a pass. So hopefully that gets better. So yeah, this is the first time I did this. I sort of just had some notes and sat down. Hopefully in the future I can continue to do this, continue to watch the games. I won't be able to stay up till 2, 3 every morning watching these games. But yeah, Royce White is a player I hope you guys want to follow. I definitely want to follow. I want to know who the man behind the media reports is. So yeah, thanks. Theo F. Dumiatis signing out.